All right, so welcome back to Straight No Chaser. This here is episode 14. Today we got a very special guest, my friend Corrado Pilade. Um, Corrado here, he is a junior at Suffolk, right? And he is majoring in business, and he's part of SUFC as well, which is where I know him from, the club soccer team here. And so, yeah, today we're gonna kind of do an interview, talk to him a little bit about his business major and living in Boston, and then we're gonna talk to him about being from Venezuela and his kind of experiences growing up there, and kind of some differences in the culture and politics. And then we're gonna go on with our usual topics that we have. So, yeah, let's start off the interview right now. So, first of all, tell me a little bit about why you chose to study at Suffolk specifically, because I always find it kind of funny how a lot of international students end up about Suffolk, because I feel like other than the law school, it's not really well known, especially outside of New England.
Yeah, well, man, first of all, good pronunciation, man, of the name. And then, man, it's a long story, but I think Suffolk is one of these schools that has like a certain reputation between, especially Latin American people. Like, I, I got I got to Suffolk because of a tutor. Like, my parents were decided to send me to the U.S. Like, first, my parents wanted me to study in Venezuela and like do a master's or something here. That is what Venezuelans used to do in their time. But as things got bad, especially with crime and unsafety in the country, like my parents were decided to for me to leave. So like there was like a tutor because they had no idea of how to apply of the schools here, because usually the Venezuelans like the, let's say, high class Venezuelans, the ones that have like last names that are known by everybody, like let's say the old time rich people, they have been going to the US for decades. But my family, being coming from Italy, it was part of that generation that they made money in the 80s, the 90s. So they studied in Venezuela, and like we were the kids that actually had that possibility of studying abroad. So they had no idea, and they hired this tutor that went to my school one day. She made like a talk and everything, gave us her contact, and a friend of mine like contacted her, and his brother was able to study in the US. So since I was like in my junior year, like at school, they were decided to for me to leave. And at the beginning, let's be clear, man. When you're 16 years old, 15 years old, you're like, hey, yeah, let's go to the US, fine. But then, man, when I was like 18, after I finished high school, I went to Arizona, like University of Arizona. I did like a small
Yeah.
English course there, like for 5 months, and I mean I liked it. Of course, very different from everything I knew before.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't know, man. I had a girl in Venezuela. A lot of things. I was like, no, I don't want to go to the U.S. My parents barely killed me, man. They were like, we had saved all this money, we hired this person, and you're not going. But in the end, and then I don't know why I wanted to go to Italy, and I started doing my application and all of that. But I did it like by myself. I had no contact, no nothing. It was all very,
Hmm.
improvised, let's say. And when I did the application for the US, we chose by states, like choose three schools in three different states, or the states that you are interested. And I was like, I liked Florida, Massachusetts, and what was the other? I think it was like probably New York, one of these. Like I knew that
Yeah.
I wanted to go like East Coast, like city. After my
Good call.
experience
Good
in,
call.
man,
Definitely a good
after my
call.
experience in Arizona, that university was actually nice, man. Like the campus was big, was like the movies, and I was like, I don't like this thing. I'm like, I need the city. I
Yeah.
prefer like
Yeah.
a small college, but being in the city in downtown. So we did like Boston, some schools like Miami. and like Tampa. So the ones that accepted me, they were like 5 or 6, but there were like 3 that I knew I wasn't going. So it was basically between Suffolk and like, well, FIU, but then I didn't want to go to Miami. So I don't know, it was like all leading to Suffolk. And then this thing of Madrid, that I did my first year in Madrid, I didn't know about that, man. And they sent me like an email like, hey, you could go to Suffolk, Madrid, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, man, that's the sign from God that it has to be here, man. This is it.
Yeah.
And then when I got to Suffolk, I realized that it's very well known, like in the Latino community. Of course, I think we have the fame of, like rich kids that don't want to study, they go to Suffolk. But I had no idea, man. I was like,
Yeah.
I was doing my thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I came here, and so far I like it. Of course, there are some
Yeah.
that I don't, but like the whole experience has been very very good.
What made you pick business as a major? What drew you into business and finance?
Man, I tell you, since I was a kid, what I liked, it was like history. I liked all these topics that the other kids don't like. But I never been into science or math or all that stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and my high school was very good on that. Like in Venezuela, we have like a division that is like when you go to high school, you go with science or like humanities, let's say.
Yeah.
So in science you see like chemistry, physics, mathematics, all that thing. And in humanities you see like Latin and Greek and all of
Yeah.
that. And honestly, I
Like,
prefer the other side. But in my school is there was only like the scientific side, and I was like, I'm not going to change my school like my friends just to see Latin. Come on. But of course, after like those years, like they were tough. So I was like, man, I'm definitely not being like an engineer, no doctor. I was like eliminating stuff that I don't like. So then I was between maybe law, politics, maybe economics, things that I liked. And let's be clear, things that you may think of living off, even if then we never know what we are actually doing. But let's say I wasn't going to be a historian. Even if I love history, I was like, let's go to a place where it like general knowledge that could help me to have some money.
yeah.
Let's be clear. And also my family has a company. Like my dad, actually, since I was a kid, my dad was like, no, you're going to be an engineer, because I liked the machines and all of that. But then I changed. Like then I changed, and I liked reading about history, humanities, all that, even politics, all that kind of stuff. And when I went to like the our factory, let's say, forgot the word, and when I saw the machines and all of that, I was like, of course I was proud of my dad, but I was like, I don't find this fun. I don't There's no passion in it. So that's how I actually chose economics. And then I changed to business, because I didn't know that economics here, it was in the arts and science college. And
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning it was fine, but then I was like, I'm seeing a lot of BS classes. Like, man, I want to know about accounting, I want to know about finance, I want to know about practical things.
Yeah.
So and I was like at creativity and all of that, and I was like, come on. I mean, okay, I like there was like philosophy and all of that I like it. But I was like, man, if I'm going to have to run a company, I need to know about accounting, I need to know what is a balance sheet. Come on. So that's why I changed to business economics, and I like it. Let's say that with economics, I like the beginning, and then as I started getting into it, I don't know, like I like it on a macro scale, but when you go with the formulas, the theories, I don't know, I don't see it that being that practical.
That's a
Yeah.
very fair
Well, I
point.
think
I think
when you're studying economics, what really brings like reality to it is like So like reading books like Freakonomics or Too Big to Fail, like books that talk about like real world examples and just tie things you never like classes don't really bring that aspect into it, but reading books like that just gives you like a newfound appreciation for like finding that line between like theory and reality.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, man. I think I learned more about economics or the things that I know. It's not
Yeah,
that I'm a master or something, more like on YouTube and all of that kind of
yeah,
stuff than at school. Because at school they throw you these formulas and I'm like, what does that represent? I don't see real life in that, especially when economics, it's a social science, like it's determined by people. That's why it's so inaccurate because it's so difficult to predict. It's not like medicine.
it's like a way to measure social sciences. I'd say it
Um,
measures currency
Yeah.
as well as social things at the same time.
what's your favorite subject that you've studied at Suffolk been so far out of all the classes you've taken?
Oof, you remember, man. Like, well, you see, there goes like the difference between what you're studying and what you actually like. I think my favorite class was one of politics because there was a lot of debate, man. It was
Yeah.
like evolution of the global system. I don't know. I
Oh
think that
yeah,
was
yeah,
my.
I took that one. Did you
I,
have yeah, like with Professor Zhang? That one was good.
no,
I
I
took it
took
with
it.
him.
I took it in Madrid,
Oh, you
and
took it. Okay.
I liked it because it was history, but it was focused on the political side, on the state, and also a little bit of economics. So I liked
Yeah.
that class because it allowed with a lot of discussion and let's say like I consider myself now a libertarian, but I was grown in a very conservative family. So I was more conservative, and since I was, being here, like at least with the social stuff, I'm like, I prefer being libertarian with that stuff, like let's say drugs or
Yeah.
abortion. We can go on that stuff later, but like
Individual freedoms.
yeah, but like with
Yeah.
my family, they would kill me for saying that. But here, like I opened my mind a little bit more. But in terms of economics and or politics, no way I'm on the left, not at
Yeah.
I
all.
I also have a question for you. So when you left Venezuela, how bad were things starting to get?
Horrible. Like, but it's every year is worse. But
Okay.
already when I left, they were terrible. Like, it was the time that people started to live like in masses, in
Okay.
masses. Not like now it still happens.
So would you say like overall over the last like 3 years, it's like estimated like the documented Venezuelans that have left is around like 4 million, but like
Something like that.
undocumented, I'd assume it's probably quite a bit more.
Probably
So
more.
like, would
Probably
you
more.
would you say you were part of that wave, or were you like a bit before that?
No, because well, I have to be clear. Like, luckily, I was born in a family with all the resources that
Yeah.
I left because I could. Like, because my family, like, actually, my father's plan was like, you'll study in the U.S., then you come back home.
Yeah.
Right now, of course, things have changed. Like, at least in my mind, I'm like, oh, I hope that I can return to my country and run the company's family, the family's company,
Yeah.
but if I can't, like that was my dad's bet. I have to start here and see how it goes. Like
Yeah.
when I left, I didn't know, I didn't think about that. I was like, "No, I'll return home." So I don't like when I left. I don't consider I was the ones that were escaping. But of course, as time has passed, I realized that, of course, I'm one of the ones who left or who are going to leave because when I speak to my friends there, right now after the pandemic, I think there's not a single one who doesn't want to leave because
Really.
it's especially, man, when you finish college there, there's like no opportunity. If you have your family, your contact, you can you can have some money, but then you have like the quality of life is zero. And especially if you are like ambitious, if you want to be something like a top class economist, a top class doctor, you can't do it there, man. Like
Yeah.
you can't rise there.
No.
If your family has a good position,
There's no
yeah,
opportunity.
no, man, no.
Yeah.
And Venezuela has always been like, even in the good old days, has been like a clientelist and country, like very
Like
clientelist, or a lot of nepotism. It's like, hey, I know this guy, I know
I
that
think
guy.
here we'd say like elitist. That's kind of when people say elitist here. That's pretty much what we mean. It's like you got to be part of the high end network, otherwise, like you're going nowhere. That's kind
Yeah,
of the elitist culture here.
yeah, but in Venezuela, it's actually it's in every level, man.
Yeah.
Like not even in the top of society. Like even if you're
Okay.
a public servant, like I don't know, if you work for the state, things go your way if you know people, if you know that
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
I know what you
success.
mean with the nepotism because they do that too in like Eastern and Southern Europe. That's like a thing. It's just everyone's cousin is like how you get the
Absolutely.
job.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Absolutely. Like
Uh,
I think we got that from the Spaniards and the Italians and all of those guys, because it's like that. Like if you want to get a job, you have probably, if your dad knows the guy, or if you have a contact who knows the guy, or if the guy likes you. So that was one thing that probably made our economy not like inefficient in some way, even before Chavez came to power. So things have always been that way. So right now, like I have a friend who's very smart, and he tells me like, yeah, I'm here, I'm working. He's working like the with the British embassy, and because his family has contacts, and he's good, but he's like, man, this is not what I want. Like this is no competition, this is no challenge
Yeah.
for someone who wants to succeed. And then you go with all the, because even if you are rich, or even like I was grown in a bubble, and most Venezuelan guys that you will meet here, we were growing in a bubble. We know that the country was terrible, but we still had a good quality of life. Like we were able to travel, like we went to parties and all of that. But even us that were in this bubble, like when you go to buy some bread every day, it's like higher price with the inflation. You have to do
Yeah.
a damn line, or if you don't want to do the line, you have to know somebody who will sell you the bread 5 times the price. Then you
Yeah.
go home and there's no water. We that, like, I come from Caracas, the capital, like the people from inside the country, they tell me like, you have nothing to complain about. You at least have water. Like we have water once a week. And like, so when we don't have water, we have to be like, oh, turn on the tank, like the tank, and feel like the how you call it, like a bucket, like a
Yeah.
yeah.
bucket. Even like
Wait, this is in
with water,
Caracas, like the capital, like for
the
most.
capital.
So you'd say like for middle class and below, they'd have to like go out every day and fill up buckets to drink water.
Yeah, no, or to shower, man, to shower,
Wow.
like, because no, for drinking water, I
Yeah.
think, of course, there has been say like shortages and all of that, but
Yeah.
it's mainly like because the water system, like let's say for getting a shower or anything, it's public, and
Okay.
everything is public, like
Yeah.
electricity, internet, and it's terrible, man. It's terrible. Like,
Yeah.
well,
I have another question
the
actually.
state doing their thing, the state
Yeah.
doing their thing. But in our case, it was even worse, because I mean, we can see in Germany or Northern Europe that some state companies are actually efficient. In our case, it's a bunch of dummies.
Yeah.
They're not prepared.
That's where I was
Dude,
just
they're
about to
not
go.
prepared, because that was a populist move. Like they gave a bunch of jobs. They when Chavez came, they laid off a lot of people who were part of the establishment, as his way to demonstrate that he was against, the old oligarchs and all of that. So he, like, let's say the 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 payroll, it was triple, like, at least with PDVSA, which is like the oil company of Venezuela.
Yeah.
It's of the state. Like I think before Chavez, I don't have the exact numbers, but it was like, let's say 40,000 employees. With Chavez, it was like more than 100,000
Wow.
employees.
Great.
And you're
And
producing the same.
in
Yeah.
addition to that, I just wanted to ask, so when Chavez came into power, and I remember you mentioning how bread prices would rise every day, and this is more from like a country standpoint, not from your like, because I know you said you were somewhat in a bubble of people who were a little bit more fortunate under those circumstances. But like, what were the effects of when state took over these companies and like started to control the markets? Like, what impact did that have broadly?
Like, let's be clear, like the years of Chavez, of course it had an impact, like a terrible impact, but nobody saw it because the whole economy of the country was relied on oil. And we
Yeah.
had 15 years of Chavez and 15 years with the highest oil prices in history. And Venezuela was producing like 3 million barrels per day at $150, $100 each barrel.
They were
So that was
actually
every
fourth.
day.
They were actually the fourth largest provider to the U.S. for quite a while.
Exactly. So even that is a problem even without Chavez because we didn't develop like uh, a true industrial sector, a competitive industrial
I know
sector.
what you mean.
That
Yeah.
happened even before Chavez. But as oil prices were high, everything let's say the whole system worked a little bit. So these populist guys, they always do that. They do these social programs like building houses, like these food companies, all owned by the state and given to the people. So the people loved it. They were rolling with it. And of course, during Chavez mandate, I think like that was going on the whole mandate. Like
Yeah.
the country relying on oil and his social programs, his spending, all of that. But I think from 2007, things started, he effed up because he started to expropriate companies. So he basically destroyed the whole industrial sector. Like, I think my dad's company is one of the ones that is like left, but a lot of companies were expropriated. There are videos of Chavez saying like, "What is this? Like jewels, a jewelry expropiacy." There are videos. Like it was, and people loved it because it was like, he's our hero, he's our man, going against the establishment, and he gave us free food, our homes, our jobs. So things were rolling, but after 2013, that oil prices went to half what they were, the whole system crumbles. And then you were so stupid that you don't even have companies to tax. So
Yeah.
you don't even have the companies to raise taxes too because you expropriated them. And all of those
Yeah.
companies, they were inefficient. They were even ways to money laundering, like a lot of the whole agricultural sector went down. The industrial sector, they went a lot in like imports and exports, the food sector, because at least my dad, we do like pipes, but like conduits, it's what they say here, like for electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately you have to meet people from the government. And my dad told me once, they told me like we don't care about your company because you had to work too much. It doesn't bring easy money, like money without even working. But with imports and exports, when you control what goes in and what goes out, that's a whole corrupt
Oh
instrument.
yeah. Everywhere.
Crazy. Even before Chavez, I think that was that way. But after Chavez, that was free for all. Like that was crazy. So yeah, like people didn't, like the average citizen didn't see those effects of the destruction of our industrial sector, of our private sector actually, during the years of Chavez, because yeah, things were rolling with the oil prices
Yeah.
and all of that. But after that is when things started to crumble. And I tell you, man, Chavez even died on time because Chavez dies before oil prices go down. So a lot of people, like, the basic citizens tell you, well, we were good with Chavez. And I was like, man, the dude was even lucky to die before
Yeah.
things started to crumble. So it
Yeah.
went all to Maduro, who is like, he's an idiot, of course, absurd. But even with Chavez, things would have gone bad because you had no competition, you had a broken private sector, and your main source of income, like, which was oil, it was inefficient because you doubled the payroll, you were producing actually less, and because a lot of these people that they hired weren't prepared. So, like, there has been, I don't know if you even saw a lot of plants that there has been explosions and all of that in like oil and gas plants, and like our oil capacity has gone like almost to zero. Like right now in Venezuela, I forgot to tell you that guys, that like this year, no gasoline. Like, there's no gasoline in the country with the biggest oil reserve in the world.
Damn.
No gasoline
Jesus.
Holy
because
shit.
they can't even extract it because there were explosions in these plants, and these guys are like out of money. Of course, with the U.S. sanctions, they don't have that easiness to transfer the money to move their assets. So they weren't even able to repair those plants that exploded and all of that. So basically, the Chinese and the Russians are the ones extracting our oil for us as a way for us to pay, because after the oil prices crumbled, Maduro started asking for money to Russia, to China,
Yeah.
and of course we didn't pay. How are we
Yeah.
going to pay?
Yeah.
we were out
Well,
of
there's
money.
nothing to pay with. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
right now, the Russians or the Chinese were the ones like actually extracting our oil, and the oil, like the gasoline that people buy, like, let's say it comes when with Iran, like, there are like Iran cargo ships coming to the country, and that's our and they tell you like it's like 2 weeks of things going back to normal because the cargo has arrived. But after that package is over, you have to wait for the next cargo ship. so
Yeah.
so those weeks after, dude, I I'm not lying to you. There were like lines of people, like, it could be like from the north end till Newbury, lines of people, of cars going for gasoline.
Damn.
And and as it happened with the food before, because that happened with more or less the same thing happened with the food in like 2016, 2017, even 2018, that with the scarcity, like, it's, you get it in the black market. Right now,
Yeah.
my dad told me I got gasoline, but I had to pay triple, and you have to call a guy, a military guy who knows somebody who you can go to, and you can fill your tank. But of course, if you are an average citizen, you have to do that damn line, and that
Yeah.
happened with the food, with everything, with the water. But as I tell you, like, even us that, let's say, we are privileged, we have to go through those things. Like, imagine I run my company and I have to be worried about calling some mother to get my
You
gasoline.
can swear on the
You can
show.
say
We
it.
don't have-
We're
It's
Yeah.
free
You can
speech.
say it. Yeah.
You have to call that fucker who works nothing to get gasoline, and then you
Yeah.
have to go home. And if water is coming, oh, let's shower, because if water is not coming, you have to be careful not to spend water because the tank,
Like
start-
Like even
uh,
as a successful business owner, you still have to deal with like not having water and gas.
yeah,
Wow.
like a
Yeah.
bunch of nonsense, or paying more for something that should be for basic things, man.
Yeah.
I
and
can
of,
I
Yeah.
can see why millions of people had to leave because it even got worse after that. It didn't improve.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say actually going on from that, Corrado, I was just wanted you to know so moving to the US, and well growing up there and then coming here and having like Italian immigrants as parents who kind of had a success story in Venezuela, how do you think that kind of influenced your view on like American politics and like your own success story and like your kind of the cultural difference between growing up from Italian parents in Venezuela to coming to America and experiencing it here. Like you said earlier that you're now like politically a little different, and I just wanted you to go into more like that kind of like your own
Like
views.
what kind of effect the U.S.
No,
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad, man. Everything that is happening saddens me because you guys don't know what country you have. You have an amazing country, guys. Like I tell
Oh
you,
yeah.
I won't be your guy, your international guy bashing on America. Not at all, man. You have an amazing country. Of course, it has its flaws. Like all, even in let's say America's success history, there are a lot of black spots. But man, like let's say a middle class American has a life that a Venezuelan, like 80% of Venezuelans would die for, like, and that's it. Just the fact that you go to Walmart and you see 7 colors of toilet paper to, so I mean, like the abundance. When we come to
Yeah.
America, we used to come for vacation and all of that. Like, like my grandma, she always said, like, in this country, there's everything. There's abundance. You have 7 options, 10 options of the things you want to buy. And even in Italy, it's not like that. Like, of course, Italy is not Venezuela, but this abundance, that these resources, of course, the country, let's say, in terms of, you know, uh, you have all kinds of environment here. You have beach, you have desert, you have forest, then all the resources, natural resources
Yeah.
you have here. I mean, it's a great country, and let's say it, like in terms of the country has this country has always been like first in a lot of breakthrough moments for humanity, man. Like in this era of let's say, I call it like Pax Americana, after 1945, we live in that era, at least in the West.
Yeah.
It's like America's time since 1945. And I'd say we have enjoyed in these years, even with a lot of tragedies, with death, with wars. I think it's the age of more progress in human history, and America has been the leader of that age. So then you see the country destroying itself, and it saddens me, because when you see the riots, when you see, well, what I was telling Alex before the podcast, the inability of Americans to listen to each other, man.
Yeah.
It's that, I mean, I'll say what I think. Trump can win, Biden can win, the country's fucked. Is fucked, man. Like, I seeing it in the long term, I think if there's not a big change in American society, the country is doomed, because I believe that there is nothing right now that that unites Americans. That I think that America has forgot its identity. Like, I see you guys like as the different guys, because I see what you post and all of that, and I know that you're like proud of being American, but of course you know that the country has millions of flaws. But
Oh, for
right
sure.
now, there's like a division. There's one part of the country that is like, this country is terrible, this country sucks, this country is racist, this country is unfair, this country is unequal, and we have to tear everything down. And then the other side is like, no, America is so great, man. If you don't hate it, get the fuck out of here. We are perfect, America, baby. And
Yeah.
and
But
if you don't say that, you're a fucking commie, something like that. It's like both sides.
I think what's happening is because of social media, people aren't taking what they're seeing and applying it to reality in their world and like seeing and like observing what's happening around them. They're so absorbed in these ideologies, and this is what the newest Rogan episode was about. The newest guy Rogan actually has on was the guy that broke the Snowden story. Like, he was the guy that got Snowden to come out.
I
And
have
I
to
think
watch that
Snowden is an
episode.
American hero.
Me
But
too.
I think what's happening in America is like with social media and like there's always, no matter how unqualified or qualified someone is, there's something that reinforces like a pre-made mold, and everyone wants to fit into those. Whereas like people are forgetting that like you can look around and like apply these things to real life. Like, real life can prove these ideas wrong. Like, your life around you can prove what you read and see, like, hear about wrong. And
And
like
right
people
now,
don't realize that.
I think people are so obsessed of being right
Yeah.
that, like, even if, let's say, in the reality of the country, in the daily life of the country, if one of the policies that they don't defend is the right policy, like, they would still prefer their policy even if it's less efficient, let's say. Like, they are people
Yeah.
right now, I think they
Yeah.
are so obsessed of being in the right side that it's so difficult for them to accept that maybe they are, like, there's maybe a better way for doing things in terms of, I don't know, let's say taxes or spending.
Well,
Like, I tell you, man, like, okay, I think generally I'm libertarian, but man, I don't know if in reality a socialist economy worked better. Let's go with socialism, but I don't believe it. I
no,
like
it
I
doesn't.
think I
Definitely.
think that I think history has shown us that
Yeah.
that's not the case.
History has
But I mean,
proven
like,
that.
since I'm here, because before, I'll be honest, when I came from Venezuela, I was like, damn, dude, and I, also going in Venezuela, it's everything propaganda of the government, all the media controlled by the government. You go on the damn airport and you see Chavez, 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 and I was like, man, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I want to go to America, and you know, if you see some advertising, it's companies. I don't want to see the damn face of the president. That's it.
I
So
think uh I think your point is great. And the other part is we really have like lost a sense of unity in America. And I thought like as we became more free and independent as a society that you would see more unity over time because like you said the US has its black spots, particularly with its history of like slavery and inequality even towards women in some regards. But it's always been self-improving, and I feel like over time America has righted its wrongs of the past. But what you see right now is like a division that people are unwilling to talk to each other. And like you said, like no matter who wins the election, it's not even just about the presidential election, it's about like who we elect as our leaders. We're
Well, I'd
so
say,
yeah,
uninformed, and
yeah.
no,
like I don't think like no one wants to address like the national debt. No one wants to address any of the finances for the country, and it's
Nope.
just like teetering into this sphere of unsolvable.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I think it's more like seeing it in the long term. I think the country's soul is probably broken. Like, what makes you American? Like, because let's say when you're a kid and you read about America, you usually think about, freedom. You think about big cities. You think about the greatest army. You think about, the progress that has been in America. You think about McDonald's, all that stuff, like Michael
Yeah.
Jordan,
I went in
spectacle,
there.
everything big, everything. So, and right now you see that Americans, like one side, let's say the left, we are generalizing, of course, but it's like there's nothing that makes them proud of being Americans, and the other side, the right is more about like it's like they
The
want to
only
stop
thing
to
to
the
be
past.
proud of is America. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like if you do a criticism of America, or even if you say that Trump is a jerk, is that you don't want this
I,
country.
To me
I
though,
really
both of
think
those
I really think that our government, our legislators and leaders, like the people who write the laws of this country, like that. they actually profit off of this
Ooh.
division. Like our government leaders love that our country is this divided because citizens don't focus on like, oh, the people that are in office are making hand over fist money, just money, money, money every way possible. Like insider trading, lobbying, like helping out when they write a certain law. No one no one looks at that anymore. People are like, oh, this is morally right. Fuck the morals. Look at where the money's going, and it's going into the hands of legislators that don't do their jobs. It's going in the hands of lawmakers that don't even fucking write laws anymore.
I'd argue also that part of the problem is that both sides, the loudest voices from each side, have been amplified, and those tend to be the most extreme voices.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of people that are divisive and don't respect the other side. Like we've had presidents in the past, and I actually think this is one of the issues I have with Trump is he doesn't try and unify Americans like past presidents have, and I think that's going to be a stain unless we can change that in the future. But I feel like the backlash to Trump too has been overblown as well, because not everything the guy does is terrible. So it's like we're kind of screwing ourselves, because every president, you have Obama, Bush, Clinton, you can say what you want about them, but at the end of the day, they did try and unify American citizens, and you don't see that. There's a drift happening towards like like authoritarian.
It's like they don't care anymore.
No,
Yeah.
it's like
That's also what
Trump
I
doesn't
think
give
that-
a fuck.
that's the thing, but that's the problem. Like he got elected because of that, and that's why he thinks that is the only way to act. And I'm like, you could make things so much easier if sometimes you just shut up, man. Or let's go to the debate, for example. Not everything they said, but I tell you, man, how to win the debate against Joe Biden? Let him speak. He kills himself, man. Biden contradicted himself every time, but Trump wasn't smart enough to see that, because no, his way to act, how he became a millionaire, how he became a playboy, how he became a president was attacking, taking no shit from anybody. And I'm like, okay, that may work against Hillary Clinton because everybody hated her. Yeah. That's why it worked. But man, if you do that strategy against Obama, you lose. No. You lose 100%.
Yeah, sure.
So I think Trump may win. I don't know. But he thinks that because he's done that thing all over his life of just attacking, just unapologetic. So okay, I think that's fine at some point, because I think the dude has guts. He has guts, absolutely. But it's like, you can be smart enough to unify people, because that's what America, even in this moment of craziness or of uncertainty, I think that America, even the ones on the left and the ones on the right, they want a unifying voice. And I think Trump has had the opportunity to be that unifying voice, and he didn't use it. And
I was gonna say,
sadly, because I tell you, man, Trump is a jerk, but I prefer him than I won't even say Joe Biden, because I think if it was Joe Biden, like an average Democrat, it's fine. Like I prefer, generally, like in broad terms, I prefer more Republican policies, not all of them. But the thing is that I think now the Democrats are leaning way to the left. You see people saying that America is like the worst country ever, that eat the rich, end capitalism.
Yeah, this goes right into what I was actually going to ask you about.
Nonsense. And when I hear that in America, I get scared, because that's what happened in Venezuela, man. That's what happened in Venezuela.
Our country is becoming an oligopoly right in front of our eyes. Like a core group of the moneymakers are the people that are influencing everything that's written.
Like Corrado said, I kind of worry about this. This goes for both parties, though, because I think both parties are at fault with this. I think that there's becoming too much government control over all aspects of America, and like when you don't let markets dictate like product prices and stuff like that, and you nationalize certain things, like for certain sectors it might make sense,
Like the
but
government fucking
broadly,
bought
government shouldn't do
Fannie and
these things.
Freddie.
Yeah, and
Like
they
the
had no right
government
to.
owns
Let them
Freddie
fail.
Mae now. Like
Let
and
them
and
fail.
and that's the stuff you
just
don't
let
see.
them tank. Yeah.
They want people discussing about COVID, about racism, about inequality, and you don't see that stuff. That is the stuff that actually matters. What is
Yeah,
the government doing? What uh, like things
to
like
the
the
economy.
to the economy, or even like the influence of the executive branch on the legislative and on the judiciary. You say
Judicial, yeah.
Yeah.
judicial branch.
Judicial. Yeah.
That's how a democracy fails.
I'd
When
say
when the executive takes the other branches, you're done. You're
Yeah.
absolutely done.
That's when you get to
And
authoritarianism.
We're at
the
a
thing
weak
is
point.
that like we're at this point right now, and if things don't change in the next like 10 years, that's good for us as individuals. That means we have opportunity to do whatever the fuck we want, and as long as we can succeed within this next 10 to 20 years, that means we will have a voice.
I don't though, because I think that if we don't succeed as a country long term, it's going to have a lot to
Oh,
do with the
no, but in
government
the
seizing
next
control
for
of a
for the
lot of
next
things.
for the next 10 years as individuals, if we can
Yeah.
make our lives here and get away with shit that no one's really
And then
paying
leave.
attention to. Canada.
And then leave.
Canada's
UK.
pretty nice.
I'm going to the UK.
Canada,
I'm going to go be an
UK.
Arsenal fan.
Yeah, legit. There are so many beautiful places in the world. Like
no,
Makes me
and
sad.
and I think one thing also about the government is that, like, right now politics has become so important in people's lives. Like, if we don't have the same political opinion, you can be my friend, you can be my girl. Like,
yeah,
that
I
shouldn't
think that's a
be,
problem.
man. That shouldn't happen. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that happened before. Maybe that happened, but I don't think so.
No, I think
No,
that
I don't-
especially the social media
that's like
activism
I
fueled
think
that because
social media is the reason that's happening. Yeah.
they're always like unfollow me if you don't agree. And I'm like, why do you want everyone who follows you to agree with you? Then there's no point in
Yeah.
posting
Yeah.
activism anymore.
If people don't disagree with you, you'll never learn anything in life. Like
Yeah.
And I was actually gonna ask you about that, Corrado. I was gonna say, so like, yeah, we were talking about how like the country's getting so divided. Now most Americans actually claim to be moderates. On the show, we're like all libertarians, which I guess is still like there's a decent amount of them, but like I feel like overall the government, like Jake was saying, is getting a little too authoritarian. I
It's
just wanted to hear your take. Well, I wanted to hear your take on like people like that, especially like in like the area and the school we go to, who are suggesting like get rid of capitalism, like implement socialism, implement like that kind of stuff. Like coming from someone who's from a country that went to socialism and authoritarianism. I just like wanted to hear your take on those people.
Man, in that case, I say to myself, like, I don't want these people to experience. I don't wish you that, man. It's like, it's not that I'm against you. Like, if you want to go to socialism, go ahead. But it's like, really, man, I don't wish you that. I don't wish you that.
Yeah.
I don't
fucking
recommend you
hope
that.
not.
Then it's like, man, you decide. That's freedom. I don't get to point a gun at yourself, telling you vote this or vote that. But that's the thing. Like, what back to what, like, when I came to the States, like, as I tell you, I was hoping like, I'm done with socialism. I'm going to America, capitalist country. I won't see Chavez, no Cuba, no nothing of that
Yeah.
bullshit. And then I go to school and I see a bunch of these kids, and I'm like,
As you Marxist.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like with the Marxists. I'm like, go to a Marxist country. I guarantee you wouldn't even be having access to
No.
Instagram
What's
and your own
funny
opinion.
about
So
the
I was like-
SU Marxist Club is they're a bunch of like kids going to a private American school,
They go to
like
a private institution.
American
Yeah.
institution, and they're like,
That's
government
for-profit,
should
by the
fund
way.
everything. Yeah.
And I was
For-profit.
It's
like,
like you're getting
And
educated in a place that
I,
stands for everything you're against.
that against, and you're using freedom of speech, and you're using Instagram, which is a company, and that's what also makes my head hurt, because like I know you can feel this, Corrado. Like I also I had family who lived under like the Eastern Bloc. Like you couldn't do any of that. You had to
no.
just like literally they told you what to do, and if you disobeyed, you like
Yeah.
get the
No,
consequence.
and I was going to tell you, like, so at the beginning with these guys, like when I started, especially in Madrid, and all the group in Madrid, they were far to the left. So at the beginning, I got angry.
Oh,
I was discussing, and then I was like, man, first you have to choose who is worth discussing with because some people just
Yeah.
don't listen.
Yeah.
And then I was like, let's think about the difficult question, like why do they think like that? That I think that's way more interesting than calling them or thinking that they are dumb. Is
yeah.
like why do they think? Why are they claiming for a Marxist system? Why do they want socialism? Like
Yeah.
let's give it a thought because
Hang on. I
maybe America
apologize.
is
I'll be
not
right
so
back.
perfect.
Alrighty. I do think that there is a certain point because there's one sector that I actually kind of support being nationalized, and that's healthcare. I think
Hmm.
there should be still a private option because I don't want, like, I think a large incentive for rich people to stay in the country is if you
Yeah.
kept a private option in place because they'll just go somewhere else to get their healthcare there if you don't still have a private option. But I do think, like, it's been shown that, like, in the U.S., our healthcare system performs much worse than other places that have nationalized it. However, with that being said, for broad economy, I don't support anything else really being nationalized. I think that this idea that the government's going to support the people and control means of production is super flawed, and I think it kind of de-incentivizes people to actually work really hard and like make
No,
something of their lives.
and I think I once I talked about it with Alex shortly. Is like one of the things that made this country great. That makes you go to the supermarket and you see 100 options of everything, 100 restaurants around, buildings, well, even the cars. You go in the highway, all new cars. In Venezuela, there's not a single new car, man. Not a single new car. That's another thing in my country. But like to have those options, you need competition. It's the base of it, because when you have somebody that could overtake you, you work harder. And uh, you surpass your limits as a company. So it makes everybody better and gives more options to the consumers. If there's only the government, there's only one agent, and you stick with that. And they for sure they will lower the quality. Why do you have to work that hard and be innovative if you're still the only provider?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
that's
it.
my
Speaking
one
of,
point on it.
It's pretty
That's it.
I was
simple.
gonna say,
Like, yeah,
But
yeah.
but of
yeah.
course with healthcare, I don't have absolute knowledge about it. I wish I knew more about healthcare. But of
We
course,
spend about twice more, per against our GDP. I think we spend
mhm.
20% on healthcare, and most countries that have nationalized it pay about 6 to 8% of GDP on it.
Yeah, but these
Yeah,
are also countries where the government is functional. So,
That is true, and we're
no,
also our finances are way out of line. We're 26 trillion in debt,
yeah,
27 actually now.
yeah.
yeah, it's
I was gonna
like
say,
in percentage of GDP, how much was the debt, national debt in here in the US? I know it's like 20 something trillion, but I
So
think it's
our
almost
GDP is
equal.
21 to 22 trillion, and our national debt, since Trump's taken office, is increased by 7 trillion. So it increases by year about 1.5 trillion. So against the GDP, it's not that much, but if you look at it, we'd have to go a whole fiscal year paying off the debt and then into the next year to actually pay it to where we were
And,
break even.
and our great grandchildren will be still in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sadly,
yeah,
sadly, man. No, and I was remembering a course that I took that, they tell you like it was about the European Union, so with the
Hmm.
guidelines, and they say like, no, your debt shouldn't be higher than 60% of your GDP, and
Yeah.
I think no country goes with that with that standard anymore. Like the
Yeah.
U.S. is more than 100% of its GDP.
Yeah.
So no, it's absolutely crazy. But with healthcare, I was going to say, like, of course, I think it would be fair that there's a social, ¿cómo se dice?
Public option, probably.
Like a public option, but of course also a private option.
Yeah,
Then we can
absolutely.
study the feasibility of it. I don't know if it's
We
the,
have a public
but
option. It was actually the ACA put in place under Obama. The premiums are a little bit high for middle class individuals. Um, but I still think the system, if it was modified, it could work. Like I think Obamacare was a good first step. Like a lot of people hate on Obamacare, but Obamacare has actually saved a lot of lives, and this is coming from a libertarian. I don't think
Yeah.
Obamacare, a plan made by Mitt Romney as the governor
Romney
of
in
Massachusetts.
Republican too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Republican fucking healthcare plan, but let's call it Obamacare because then people will hate it.
But it's actually like it works. Like people will hate on it and say that it's a terrible form of medical.
It's really
like
not that bad.
it's not. It's real.
that
It's
bad.
really it's good,
Just
and it's
'cause
actually
people
it's
just
good
shit on it.
because it gives coverage. They got rid of the individual mandate, which means you had to get insured under the plan, and I actually think that's a good thing. But like to me, it's just one sector of the economy where America has repeatedly failed under the capitalist ideology. And
Everyone's all gung ho about get rid of Obamacare, but there's not. What
No
else?
system in
what
place.
else is
But don't
there?
get me wrong, I'm still super
Right.
libertarian, and I think every other market should be unregulated. We should have the freedom to purchase any drug we want. I'm actually much more
Yeah.
extreme on that than these guys. Like I think basically all drugs should be legal. I
Yeah,
also
this
think
kid
No,
wants
I'm
to
not-
be
I
able to
agree with
buy
that, too.
crack at his local CVS.
they're not just crack. I actually changed my mind on heroin and fentanyl too. Those should be
Oh,
legal because
Jesus
you're locking.
Christ.
You're
All right, I
locking.
don't-
All right, so distribution
Man,
should be.
Well,
Look,
no, people shouldn't go to jail
distribution-
for that, but you should have to get like a
distribution-
rehab.
However, you
Yeah, but
shouldn't
the police should be
criminalize-
working on rehabilitation. That's a whole different subject, though.
Yeah,
What I was gonna
that's-
say is moving
that's
on
like
to your
justice
topic.
reform.
oh, one
Yeah.
thing I was going to
Yeah.
tell Jake that that's the good thing. You tell me, hey, I'm libertarian, but I think Obamacare is good, and actually I was willing to listen to you because I heard a lot of bad stuff about Obamacare, but I don't actually know.
Yeah.
if it's-
You should
if
look
it's
into
true
it. I
or
think
not.
there's a lot more like, especially on the Republican side, they tend to bash it. But
Yeah.
I think if you look into the statistics around it, you'll find that it's really not this terrible program
Actually,
that they try and paint it.
one of the main reasons he spearheaded this is because like he found out like when he took office like a majority of Americans after the age of like 26 are uninsured.
Yeah, or underinsured, meaning they
Yeah.
don't have proper protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and regarding drugs, I made myself that question many times, like, what the hell we do with drugs? And I thought, like, of course, saying it like you say it, like all drugs should be legal, sounds
They should.
strong. Sounds strong, but I mean, another question, like,
But the thing is, you have the
Right
freedom
now
of
they
choice
are
to put what
illegal.
you want in your
And-
body.
That's
Oh, no.
true.
like
You have the
right
freedom
now,
of choice.
right now they are illegal, and does it work? I mean,
No, we had the war on drugs. and
we
that
have
was a
already
failure.
tried that strategy, and people will keep consuming. So of course there are drugs that like crack, all that stuff. But let's say, okay, I think marijuana should be legal everywhere. Come on, and
Oh yeah.
even cocaine, man. Like, of course, the problem with cocaine is like it's bad for your health. Actually, like it's detrimental to your health, destructive. But the thing is, like,
So is alcohol and tobacco.
but
Yeah.
with it being legal, I mean, that's the way you fight like drug lords. That's the way you fight
Yeah.
it, and also with the prices, man, because you will have many competitors trying to do, let's say, the best, to try to sell you the best coke. So I mean that lowers the price, and it will probably increase the quality of the product, man. Because also, let's say you put in regulations that you have to do like tests of the product's quality. With it being illegal, man, you have a drug lord, and he sells you whatever he wants at the price he wants, and people who are drug addicts still buy it.
It's all up to the black market. Yeah.
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 So I mean, I still prefer, even if it's cocaine or all those things, I prefer that a drug addict goes to a store, like whatever store, and he gets his thing there
rather than a gang.
rather than
Yeah,
a game.
Yeah,
Rather than a
it's
game.
safer
it's a good
too.
point. That is a good
So,
point.
so I think that,
Uh,
of course, it's a difficult thing to put in
yeah.
practice, but
Yeah.
why don't we give it a try? I don't know.
No, I think so. I think we should be working more on rehabilitation than criminalization of people who have problems with addiction. So I just want to say, going on to a little switch in topic. I don't know if we'll get Avi's topic in today, but to Jake's, we were talking since we were just mentioning how like capitalism and like the free market kind of promotes innovation within the economic sector and also just within like new kind of technology. So of course, like Elon Musk with Tesla, he's bringing like the U.S. back to the top of the automobile market. So I know Jake, you wanted to talk about something I've always actually been interested in is bringing the future of high-speed rail to the United States. If you want to go into that a little bit.
Absolutely. I will definitely go into that. So, there's talks. Actually, they're starting the project now, and it's targeting a 2024 completion. But with these projects, they always are way overshot and over budget.
Yeah,
But it'll run from Las Vegas to SoCal, which is in Southern California. It's going to be about a
yeah,
260-mile rail system that's designed to go in speeds up to 150 miles per hour. It's important to note that our fastest train right now in the U.S. runs from New York to Washington, D.C., and
yeah.
it's
It's the
a
Acela,
Amtrak. It's an Amtrak.
Amtrak Acela.
Yeah, and that has a max speed of 65, as I said, but it actually only operates it only operates at 40 miles per hour on most parts of the track because they're not designed for 65 miles per hour with the design that
Really?
it implemented.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I
So this
heard there was a
plan,
few stretches that were like 120 though too,
no,
Our
but that's
that's
only
our
for
that's
like a
not
small.
modern
it's not
our
that
most
cool.
modern
I'm
train
gonna look it up.
project
It
still isn't
doesn't.
even at where the rest of the world is at in terms of trains.
So I'll
Like
continue. So this is a
our
three
modern infrastructure is
this is a
still
3.2 billion dollar investment from Brightline is the name of the company. And they're trying to get the assurance of bonds backed by Nevada and California. It would be a huge link between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. This is a huge 260-mile stretch between the two cities. So it'd be basically the first step at getting a high-speed rail on the West Coast. It's also important to mention that Europe has high-speed rails across the EU, and in China, I know they have over 20,000 miles of high-speed rail with a train
Yeah,
that can travel 200 miles an hour. I think, Avi, you mentioned that Japan had the first one. I don't know the speeds,
yeah.
and I
yeah.
don't know.
Japan had
One of the
like bullet
first.
trains back in like their early like before 2010.
Yeah,
Actually, Jake,
yeah, it's good
Yeah,
now.
you're good.
I just looked it up. It does actually go 150, but only for
Oh.
33 miles of the stretch.
Really? Wait, is that
Yeah,
between New York and Washington?
I think it's between Boston and New York, actually.
Boston? Okay, so
Oh,
that's a
nice.
different line.
Yeah,
I saw this
it's all
long
it's
line, I guess, between major
great.
cities. Okay, so that's
Yeah,
fair.
no,
Different line.
unfortunately,
That's cool.
our country is big enough and spread out enough where like it's really like the perfect, and there's a lot of flat open land. It'd be perfect for high speed rail between the cities, and
I
it'd
also
also
think
be
it's, or so
better
I
for the
think it's
environment, and it's like kind of more comfortable, a safer way to travel than flying or driving.
I think it's also important to mention that America's infrastructure since the 50s, with the Highway Commission, has been set up around personal travel. So most of our
Yeah,
infrastructure for
we
travel
do
is set
have
up
nice
to
highways
passenger
here.
cars,
Yeah,
and we do, but it's an inefficient form if you think about
it
getting from
is.
point A to point B quickly.
It is
So I
pretty.
Especially
thought
in
It is
this
pretty
I'd
country,
leave the floor
inefficient.
to
that
you
it's
guys. What do you
huge.
guys think?
Well, like I was saying, I think it's a great idea because I think, like I said, they've implemented it across like numerous EU countries, China, Japan, like places that are more dense than here, right? So high speed rail, like here, actually would make more sense because we're more spread out, and it also like I said, it's a quick way. They're always electric, so it's like an environmentally friendly way to travel. It's more comfortable than flying, and like it's safer and like I said, more
Yeah,
fuel efficient than driving and better for the environment. And I think if especially if it was privately funded, so like Amtrak right now receives federal funding like US Mail, which is why it hasn't gone bankrupt yet. Otherwise, it probably would have gone bankrupt by now because it just has had a lot of financial problems. But I think if we had someone like Musk innovating on like the private rail, like a company like that,
well,
I
he
feel like it.
is with Hyperloop.
Yeah,
That would
exactly.
be
But
amazing.
yeah, It's
because actually,
expensive though. You know how they're still working on actually like build like making something that works, right? So they're putting out projects for that to find the people that can really build it. But I think this speaks to two things. It's like everything in this country gets done by individuals and businesses. It's like this is like a startup of like engineers probably, and they're looking for bonds just so they can fund the actual building of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like
They're also looking for federal subsidies too. It
yeah,
said the project was looking for a tax abatement,
like that's how
worth
things
800
here
million.
get done. It's like the individuals start things. You know, it's not like
Absolutely.
it just speaks to how
Yeah.
complacent our government has become. And second of
Exactly.
all, we have to spend $3 billion to get a train that's not even as fast as what most of the world is starting to implement.
Yeah.
Like, that's
So
kind of
that's a
crazy.
fact.
Shows you how behind we are in that
Yeah.
entire
I really
sector.
want this to
It's
be the
crazy.
spearheaded project of like the next 10 years. Like this
Same.
and maybe a shift towards
Infrastructure. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
infrastructure
nuclear
and
too.
energy. Infrastructure
Ener-
and energy.
I
Infrastructure
want to
and
shift to nuclear. I
education.
want more nuclear plants. Maybe we decommission the old ones, but
Yeah.
I want like 2020 technology put into the nuclear world because
Basically,
we're
I
already
think,
shifting to renewables. We still have an energy storage problem with the renewables, but if you think about it, I think those are the two sectors that like could definitely see some drastic changes.
like when
I
everyone
support.
talks about making a new
Yeah.
tax plan, it's like energy, transportation, and education. Those are the three top priorities. Other than that, you're kind of fucking around.
No,
of
I
course,
agree.
man,
I
because
agree with that.
those are the things that actually impact people's lives.
Yeah,
When you hear about of these topics in TV, it has nothing to do when you're late daily life. But
yeah.
if getting a train instead of spending $100 on fuel to
Yeah.
to go
Or
to
like
work,
250
that's
on the
actually
plane.
something,
It's
you
it's
know.
Yeah.
simple. Like it's like for people to get places, we should be funding some of their tax dollars back into them.
I also had kind of a funny joke that was going to
Or
go
with,
with
with
this.
nuclear energy, the same. That
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
actually be the difference, and nobody talks about
No,
nuclear energy.
nuclear is the answer.
I also
Sure.
wanted to mention this on the high-speed rail. I had a bit of a joke that goes along with it. We like our roller coasters faster than we like our trains. And I thought that was like the perfect analogy for America.
Pretty much.
Our roller coasters generally go faster than most U.S. trains do from point A to point B.
I'd actually like to. We should do like an analysis, like the average roller coaster speed in the U.S. compared to the average train speed. Let's see which is faster.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Probably be
And in
roller.
a country that is this big, of course, it would cost a ton of money. But man, would it be necessary? And I think reliable. In the
I
end,
think it
people
would
Yeah.
bring back the
people would
revenue.
use the train. Absolutely.
Oh
I
yeah,
would
people
honestly,
would
I prefer
definitely use that.
like MBTA. I like more than personal travels. It's cheaper. Like you don't have to pay for parking. Like on a per month average, you pay a lot less using public transportation than you do like having your own private,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
a city.
And
Definitely in the city.
sometimes having a car is more of a weight, a weight like a burden. That's the word. More of a burden rather than a solution. So you have access to the train. It would be, I tell you, in my opinion, it would be like life changing for many,
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
most citizens, and people could invest on it. I also see it like being reliable from an economic standpoint.
Yeah, it'd be nice too because it lead to further depreciation of cars. So if you wanted a car, you could get it at a lower price too, because people would probably opt out of even owning them.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
We're
But
actually
you said what was the company that is
It's Brightline is the name of the
Right.
company. You wanna
right?
look it up.
Nice.
Yep, Brightline.
Okay.
are they publicly traded?
I don't know if they're publicly traded. I actually don't know, but I think they're public or privately held. If I had to
Yeah,
guess.
I'd assume so
I was-
because they're probably new. They're probably
Yeah.
like very, very.
It's
modern.
crazy that they're already raising $3.2 billion in capital, though, because I know the private sector can do a lot more with $3.2 billion than the public sphere can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say that That reminds me. So if you guys are ready for the stock picks of the week, you guys
Oh,
have any, or are we not
no,
gonna do it because of
we
the election still?
Well,
yeah
we
we skip.
don't.
We're gonna wait.
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
skip out on stock picks
So
for now.
typically, like I don't know if you saw on our show, Corrado, we usually do the at the end stock picks that we have, but they're waiting
Yeah,
till after the election. So
didn't know, but
otherwise,
that's great, man.
Well,
yeah,
stocks are bound to go down until
Well,
after
I
the
think I
election
think
at least.
the thing is, I seriously do think Biden's gonna win with the lead he has right now. So I think that it's pretty. I think it's imaginable that with a new sitting president, that the stock market's gonna take a hit. Who knows how big it'll be? It might be like a short term hit, but I think it's definitely gonna go down.
Yeah, like no doubt that he's going to win the popular vote. I don't know about the electoral
I
college,
I think
but
he's still gonna. I think he's gonna win both because he even if you like push him down below the margin of error, he still has Trump by 3 or 4 points. I
yeah,
think it's not gonna be this huge like 2016 debacle again. I really think Biden's gonna win, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I wanted Joe Jorgensen. She's the
Yeah.
libertarian candidate, but
mhm.
I
she
saw
doesn't
her
have a chance.
profile. She's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. But I
She's the
mean,
only smart one
yeah.
Yeah,
out of the three. She's the only smart one, but
that's
I was
why
like,
she's
hey,
not
she's
winning,
not gonna
man.
win.
America wanted a woman president. She's badass enough. The other one that was badass enough was Tulsi, and I guess we just pick the
That's
wrong one.
I
Yeah.
love like in America. There's all these people that are like democracy is threatened by Trump, and then those same people are like vote Biden.
Man,
Your vote
I'm,
Biden's like
matters,
this.
but voting for an independent won't matter. Like you're throwing like the same people that are saying every vote matters are the same people saying don't throw away your vote, vote Biden. Same people,
man,
Yeah,
same people saying both
exactly.
things. Like that doesn't make sense.
no, man, it's absolute nonsense,
It
man. It's
is.
absolute
It's crazy.
nonsense.
But so I guess to wrap up, yeah. Lessons
Okay.
of the week. It's time to get into
So
some lessons of the
fast.
week.
I was going to tell you something, man. There's a saying. Probably Alex knows it because very used in Eastern European countries that the people have the government they deserve, and they don't realize it. So
Yeah.
a bunch of America they complain. You see after the debate that
Yeah,
oh, we don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. This was so horrible. Probably you deserve it, man. Probably
Yeah.
you do, and you don't
yeah.
realize because you
Because
have,
they're the
for
ones who voted
example,
in.
you have Jorgensen's option, but you cancel it because you say it's not useful. Then probably you deserve Trump or Biden. I don't know. Like it's what we say, man. I think there's the American society as a whole has to do like a big
Better.
a big change
Yeah.
Soul searching.
from the inside, and I wish it
Yeah.
happens, man. I don't want to see this country like Venezuela. I tell you, I
No.
don't. I don't. Would
I
be
don't either. No offense,
it
but
would be it, man. It would
I
be
think
it.
I think my lesson of the week's gonna jump off of that. It's gonna be karma is real. We're presented with the options that we've kind of given ourselves, and I mean you can be sour towards them, but at the end of the day, if you don't participate, if you don't try and make changes in your life, nothing else will change externally.
yeah,
So take responsibility and do what has to be done.
get what you give.
And I'm gonna say from my lesson of the week, actually, mine's gonna be make sure you listen to other people's opinions when trying to form your own, and don't just cancel out other people's perspectives on things just because you don't agree with it, for example. So try and be a little bit more open-minded.
You're
And
canceled for saying that.
yeah,
Man, that would be like, as I told you guys, like liberty comes with a price. If freedom, if you believe in freedom, you should do what Alex has just said. Listen to other people, like
Yeah,
knowing that freedom can take you to whatever goal you want, but it can take you yourself. You are responsible for your own failure, for your own success. That's the thing with freedom, and same with when you listen to people's opinions. Like you may listen to all the opinions you want, you may say whatever you want, but you have to take it like it is. Like probably some people will bash you, probably some people won't have the same opinion as you. So if you don't believe in that, you don't really believe in freedom. That's it.
No, I agree with you on
Yeah,
that.
for real.
Do you have one to finish us off, Abby?
Yeah, so I guess my lesson of the week, this is a way I kind of have always leaded my life, but I feel like it really needs to be said today and like around now. It's just like live your life observing the things around you. Like observe what's happening in front of you. Don't just believe in what you read and what you think is right. Observe the way it works in reality. Apply the things you want to believe in to your reality.
I like that one.
I feel like I've tried to live my life that way for a while because I grew up as like the only Indian kid in like an all like 98% like New Hampshire like all white American like suburban kids, and it's just like I've always had to adapt from the things I see, and we're losing that as a generation. I feel where like people believe in things, but are they seeing the reality of the things they believe in? Are they making changes to fit that reality? You know, I don't think it happens as often anymore as it did in the past.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good one.
All
All
right.
right, so I guess that wraps up today's show. Thanks all you guys for watching. That was episode 14. Yeah, 14 of Straight No Chaser. This was a great episode, guys. So make sure you give us that like and subscribe, and make sure you follow us on Instagram, straightnochaser.ent. So new
Also,
episode next week.
we want to thank Corrado for coming on and giving us his time. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you. That was great.
No, guys, my pleasure. You're doing great, and I hope you overtake Joe Rogan, man.
I love it.
Thank you, man.
All right.
All
Have
right,
a nice
guys.
night.
See you next week.